The late 90s and early 2000s were a heyday for fans of cynical, twisted cinema. And one of the darkest films of that era was American Psycho.
There is an idea of a Patrick Bateman, some kind of abstraction, but there is no real me, only an entity, something illusory.
Based on Bret Easton Ellis's ultraviolet novel, the film is an angry satire of a greedy decade filled with preening vanity, narcissistic yuppies, and absurd lectures about skincare routines and the merits of Huey Lewis in the news.
When sports came out in '83, I think they really came into their own, commercially and artistically.
But while the story is a commentary on the soullessness of 1980s materialism, it also reveals some disturbing facts about what it means to be a psychopath. And I've been on the lookout for psychopaths in my own life ever since.
I don't want you to get drunk, but that's a very fine Chardonnay you're not drinking.
So what exactly is a psychopath? And how many real-life Patrick Batemans walk among us? The answers might be scarier than you think. Welcome. Thanks for checking out Nostalgia, where we explore and find the answers to common questions through the lens of classic pop culture. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and let us know what questions you want us to explore next. Okay, a psychopath is rarely a violent, evil serial killer like Patrick Bateman. Instead, psychopaths have a form of antisocial personality disorder that's marked by a complete absence of empathy. This makes them callous, detached, and void of remorse. In other words, they have no conscience. Perhaps that sounds like someone you know.
When I see a pretty girl walking down the street, I think two things. One part of me wants to take her out and talk to her, be real nice and sweet and treat her right.
And what the other part of him think?
What her head would look like on a stick.
In the 1970s, a Canadian researcher named Robert Hare developed a checklist of 20 traits that suggest psychopathy. This list includes traits like superficial charm, pathological lying, impulsivity, and a failure to accept responsibility. Nowhere on the list was acts out fantasies of violent rage. Though what's interesting is that a character like Patrick Bateman ticks every single box throughout the film. A combination of anatomy, genes, and environmental factors like a person's upbringing can all contribute to the development of these psychopathic traits, which show up in childhood and reach their peak when a person is in their 20s. Often, these traits will recede once a person is older than 40.
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
Great tan, Marcus. I mean, really impressive.
Psychopaths are a lot more common than we'd like to admit. We've all referred to someone as a psycho in our lives, whether it was a grumpy grade school teacher or a short-fused friend.
If you don't shut your fucking mouth, I will kill you.
But while actual psychopaths aren't as common as people with anger management issues, they are terrifyingly common in the human population. Psychologists believe that about 1% of the general population can be categorized as psychopaths.
I'm into, murders and executions mostly.
Do you like it?
Well, it depends. Why?
Well, most guys I know who work in mergers and acquisitions really don't like it.
In corporate leadership, that number jumps to 3%. And in the US prison population, around 15% of inmates meet the criteria for being psychopaths. Another common trait of psychopaths is that they tend to be incredibly charming. Not only are they adept at reading people, and therefore being able to do and say things that win people over, but their common lack of shame is captivating and a rare quality in an anxious world full of people who care too much about what others think, myself included.
No, not a lesbian. Why would you think I would be into that?
We went to Sarah Lawrence for one thing.
Those are Sarah Lawrence guys, Patrick. You're making me feel weird.
They also take big risks, which makes them exciting to be around. Unfortunately, that superficial charm also makes them master manipulators.
Jean,
Yes, Patrick?
would you like to accompany me to dinner? That is, if you're not doing anything.
No, I don't have any plans.
Well,
Now, experts do disagree on whether there's a difference between the term psychopath and sociopath, largely because psychologists prefer to diagnose them as having antisocial personality disorder instead of just psychopath or sociopath. But some experts have claimed that unlike true psychopaths, sociopaths behave more erratically. They tend to be more prone to fits of rage, and they're less able to fit in with regular society and lead normal lives. Psychopaths, on the other hand, are utterly detached, and despite having zero empathy and being unable to form bonds with anyone, they have a cool, collected demeanor that lets them blend in frighteningly well.
you can always be thinner, look better.
Well, maybe we shouldn't go out to dinner. I don't want to ruin your willpower.
That's all right. I'm not very good at controlling it anyway.
So now that you know how to spot a psychopath, have you ever crossed paths with one? Share your creepiest encounter in the comments.